Okay, so I can finally show this in action. This is a knockoff Robot Commander, and I believe it's one of the later knockups. Um, and it worked like shit. Like, I fixed up the gears, I fixed everything up. It worked like shit. The walking grinded. Sometimes it would not even spin. It was just a fucking mess. No matter where you would see it from, this robot was a fucking mess. And as I said, one of the knockup versions that was released around the mid '90s, I suppose. Um, in that, I call it that Zodiac fever. Everybody was making the same fucking robot, but with different things, different head, different colors, and everything. And one funny thing is that none, and I really believe that none of the robots that this knockoff company produced actually has made any combinations of the real Zodiacs. So let me go ahead and explain something real quick. So in 1992, Huachi Toys, the real makers of the real Commander Zodiac, actually started producing their versions. Their versions were basically around 4 at the time, 3, 4, and then they started after that making the ones with the chest buttons and everything in later years. But to make it short and and useful, they made them. They worked through the years. They improved them, and they took features as well out. They took not features, but they took like quality, qualities. Yeah, basically quality. Quality. Generally, they lowered the quality, just like everything. But of course, these knockoff, these makers that made them, most of the times shitty, but sometimes you can actually find some of these that are good. Uh, it's I said, it's really hard to explain all this Zodiac type thing, but for to make it clear, this is not a real Zodiac. This is a knockoff that was made. Um, you know, as all of those other robots were being produced. So let me first of all show a few pictures. This is how you can tell right away it's a knockoff Zodiac. There's a lot of features. First of all, the main view. There's no Zodiac made that's all green like this, that has a chromed head and paint over the chrome to make the head look green. And then of course the legs and the arms can actually vary, because on these they have it like a pearl coating and they're black. On the original Commanders, this was not lime green or apple green. This was not that green. It was darker green. If it was, a green one, these shoulder stickers would be orange. Of course, this one has some weird dot pattern in the chest. What else? What else? There's so much other things to say about it. I'm just not figuring them right now, but I know I'll regret it later on. But there's a lot. The mechanism for the bottom and the top are way different. They do the same thing, but they're way different. They're way differently made. And of course, the most known one. There's no original Zodiac, and I repeat, no original Zodiac Robot Commander that actually has the gun unified with the arm in a single piece. Commanders have the gun made out of another color or something, but you can tell it's another piece. In the first versions, it was just a square fit that was, you could not remove it. And on the later ones, they actually made a little tab so you could actually screw it to one side of the hand. So it would be, completely solid on there. But again, not the same thing. When you see the back, on the back, you'll never find a robot commander, a real one, should I say. Let me see what exactly was it, because I know that they made commanders like this, but the really early ones. But there was something else that commanders had that I really was about to say. What was it? Like, I shit you not. Oh! The screws, that's right. The screws on these are not big. They may seem big, but they're not the big ones. The real commanders have larger screws than that. Larger and sometimes even longer. Of course, another thing that real commanders will never have, or at least they don't, a plastic membrane speaker that imitates the larger ones, because the second they change the location of the speaker to the head, they they were using metallic speakers, so this will never be something on a real commander. Again, the arm fits are also different, and they have this square fit right there, and they have the square fit because there's, as I said, the version that moves the arms. There's a version that moves either one or two arms. Kevin has the orange one that I attempted fixing. I got it to spin properly, and it walks like shit, okay? What else? And of course, the board. The board on these is a really distinctive board. It's different, and it has a certain code number, which I don't know if I must have it. I must have it on my... Because I know that I did not need a diagram to rewire this specific board, mainly because I already was... Yeah, I already had the one for my first one. My first one did not require that much work. It was just a question of, lining up one gear on the bottom. But that one had metallic gears. That one works like a charm. It's way better. But this motherfucker, it's not. It's definitely not. So let me see. 2017. I know it was 2017. It's 16, Boa, Santa, Kinsman, Bole. That was 17. 17. No. I believe it was before Super Fighter. I believe it was before this too. Where is it? That was Potency. That was my cousin's, I believe. My cousin's robot. The V2, but no, it wasn't this. I could swear to God that I had it around here. Maybe it's a little afterwards? Oh yeah, there we go. Here it is. So the actual thing says FY9516. That's the code number it has. And of course, it's, as I said, it's the exact same one. Okay, it has the connections in the same area. If it was another Robot Commander, a real one. And of course, here's a much more detailed view of how this thing is made and why some of these are shit. So these have a crown gear, and it may seem like the shaft is at the front like all the others. No, the shaft is actually at the fucking middle. There's a straight bar in the front controlling the way the feet are, and there's a back one making the whole back hinge thing. So basically the middle one, there's a slot in the middle, and that makes the thing work. What does this mean? You need much more effort to make the robot walk, and this is what ends up making the robot grind. And this one grinded like a son of a bitch. Kevin's grinds as well. Again, and of course, none of mine have the arm enabled, but the reason why the arms are so loose is because the arms were supposed to be connected with a shaft in the middle, and there's supposed to be some additional couple gears, maybe a gear actually. This is the original gear it had, the black one. Again, junk. It was split, and the second I put it back, I zip tied it, glued it. It worked like crap. But of course, there's a holder here. There's this being held by the front of the body. That's why I'm saying it's different. On the original Commanders, you can see the gears over here. There's like a little window. You can see everything. And the screw doesn't go here at the bottom. It goes... Actually, yeah, it goes at the bottom. The one that doesn't go, I believe, is this one. Because there's two, I believe. There's one in the middle here where right now there's nothing because it's all, But again, here they have one at each corner. But this holder right here, I believe there's a gear. There should be a gear right here, and there should be a large gear with a little like shark fin type thing, like those selective gears, and a shaft with this two springs, one at each arm, and it basically makes the robot move like the arms while it's walking, and then when it spins, the shaft goes up, and the arms no longer go up and down, they just stay there so the robot can spin properly. Now, another thing, the gun was actually glued with baking soda and super glue in a really shitty way. I noticed this, I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, and the wires were broken too. Here's a little bit more of the thing. It had rust, it had a lot of, issues that needed to be properly treated. The peg is broken off, and it's always been broken off. I couldn't even find the damn thing for the gearbox. Again, much more pictures of the cleaning. Oh! Okay, I forgot that. I forgot that this thing was actually bent. Okay, the shaft was bent. Oh, son of a bitch. Okay, forgot about that. I had to replace this gear by a metallic one. There was no case. This was too worn to work on the, on the corners. Even the other corner was worn too, so that there was no way. I fixed up the speaker as well. You guys can see there the little solder and the original cable of the coil and the other this that came from a copper wire. Yeah, I fixed up the original speaker because I take a value of the original parts. Bent shaft, broken selected gear, broken crown gear. This gear I had to replace as well. This gear I had to cut a little bit off it because there's like a little nipple type piece. There's like a spacer on the other side that basically hits against what would be the place where this lays on. And it makes it kind of wiggle, and that's what was as well making it click a lot. So again, this is the thing fixed. This is basically when I got the thing to light up and everything, but it did not walk or spin correctly yet. But anyway, so what I did for the spinning and the walking, before I get into it and actually show the things in a much better perspective, is of course, this is the real gear. Let me see if I can, there we go. It was broken, I glued it many times, and every single time I would glue it, it would start grinding and everything. So yeah, this gear can no longer be used in anything. It's basically a cheap copycat of the metallic gears. Then of course we have these fucked up ones. These are ones where I lowered the extrusion level, and to make it, long story short, they were split right out of the thing. Like there's in between teeth, there's not really too much of a, there's just stringing, but there's not too much of material in there. However, it was enough for me to try it out and see that it seemed to work. It seemed, okay? So what ended up happening afterwards was the robot would spin fine, but it would walk again clicking, and that's what ticked me off. So the last thing I did, and actually worked, is I oversized these things. I actually upped the scale a little bit. I upscaled them to 1.02. Yeah. I made the hole a little bit bigger. And to my surprise, after printing them slowly and everything, they turned out absolutely great. They're strong, they are the proper length, and even though they are slightly bigger, I think that's, believe it or not, I believe that's what it needs, okay? They are slightly bigger and they link properly with the bottom gear and they make it spin just fine. So I'm really happy about that. So let me just turn it on. And yeah, I actually got it to spin all of its 3 times. So I'm going to go ahead, and while I explain the whole thing of why do we know that these are knockups and everything, of course, the blinking pattern, you'll never see any Robot Commander blinking like this. There's basically around 3 to 4 variants of blinking, and you have the original, the very first ones that are the ones that constantly flicker. They have a very constant flicker that sometimes you cannot notice in the camera, but they're constantly flickering very fast, and the sound is distorted. Those are like the very first ones. Second versions, I believe, are the ones that have a constant blinking, like literally no moderation, nothing. There's not like this that actually blinks faster and slower. It's always constantly blinking the same, like if it had some kind of mechanical blinker, which it doesn't. It's just programmed like that. Third one is, I believe, when they started making the ones with the buttons, because Jordan has one of those, and it basically has the exact same pattern and everything. The board is different, but it has the same programming, the same sound and everything. And the same thing where like when it talks, it stays lit and it blinks slowly and everything. That I believe is the third one, and probably the last generation made out of those. So yeah, that's a little bit about it. So right now I'll pause, take it apart, and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, there we go. So, another thing I'll point out about this is that the wires are far too short, and I didn't extend them or anything because I just didn't want to at the time, but the board is basically dangling around here, And it's truly a really stupid thing, you know. Usually these robots, I mean, Kevin's had everything, I believe, tangled around the arm shaft. So of course you guys can see here a little bit of the work I've done, even though it's not completely it, but the selective gear was broken. The A-tooth gear, the long A-tooth gear is actually split, but it's glued onto the shaft. At least that's what I can do for now. The repaired speaker over there, the circuit board, which, as I said, has the FY code, but on this one it's kind of erased, but you can see it's that one. What else? The gearbox, again, a really cheap gearbox. These are not the same material as the original. They are a lot worse. They have this little flap that, as I said before, goes into this slot over here. And here's the metallic gear. Now, I know for a fact this will not last too much. You know, a plastic gear with a metallic gear, that won't really last, so I'm not going to use it too much. That's why I have the others here ready to, just be placed, but I don't have any other material, anything I can do it with, and I don't want to waste the metallic gear on this one, because I do have a metallic one, but I want to use it for something that actually needs it a lot more, and that actually needs a metallic drive. But other than that, of course, as I said, there's the entire middle shaft and everything's a pain in the ass. So honestly, if somebody was to grab one of these and change it by a helical gear mechanism, that would be 10 times better, because this is just junk. Of course, here's a bit of what was left of the original pearl coating, because again, you wash this, it rubs off, it completely goes out. The square fit and everything, there's like flaps over there that are broken, the front flaps. But as I said, in the factory, what they basically do is they melt, they just, put the iron on this, and they just make holes with that so that it actually is posable. But of course, time goes by, those little crusts break off, and this is when you have the robot again with loose arms. But yeah, I mean, that's practically everything over there. You have the 3D printed gear. You guys can see it's starting to wear out. It's not so worn down yet, but it's getting there, sadly. But yeah, I mean, when I first got this thing, it didn't even work. And once I applied power, once it was disassembled, all I got the thing to do, I thought the chip was dead because it would overheat, and you would see all the lights flickering very, very dim. And the reason why they were flickering so dim, I believe, was, of course, the speaker was bad at the time. And maybe there was a short somewhere because of the gun. Maybe that was what was going on. So basically the robot was, bad speaker. One of the things was making the transistor for the lights to get really hot. So that's not a good combination. But I mean, I guess that's practically it for now. I'm going to make a shorter video showing this in action once I'm done. But that's practically it. So again, pretty rare, actually. A pretty rare and really nice looking Zadok fixed up finally, at least for now.